Hello. Welcome to A Time to Think, volume XX.XX Update 1. I am Pastor Billy Joe Hillbilly. Or I am not Pastor Billy Joe Hillbilly. My identity remains to be seen. Hey, it doesn't really matter at the moment. Anyway, this is sort of phase 2, I guess. Phase 1 was to record a few videos. I have not finished the series by any stretch. Hope to finish the series someday, or maybe just keep recording videos for as long as I live. Yeah. I guess that remains to be seen. Anyway, this is sort of phase 2, and what I thought I'd do here is basically just sort of update some of the initial or original videos. If there's something I didn't say as clearly as I wanted or felt that I could, or later I thought of a different way to say it, or a video requires some type of update, or whatever, I thought I'd record a few quick videos just to sort of update the first series of video releases, or videos that I've recorded in the series A Time to Think. After this quick, hopefully this won't take but a few days, and then hopefully I'll get back to recording more videos in the series, which I'll think of as, I guess, phase 3. And as I go along, I'll be posting these and making them live, and see if anybody ever bothers to watch them. Although I guess somehow I'm going to have to find a way of advertising them, or I don't know. Anyway, that'll work itself out or not. Right now, let's just focus on recording, I think, is what I'll do, at least for the moment. Anyway, so in the video that I've labeled XX.XX, I think I refer to it as video 0.0, which really, going back and thinking about it, I think of that as 0.0 sort of sounds like a precursor to the 0.1 or 0.1.00 or whatever, and so and it wasn't really a beginning to the series or an introduction kind of thing to the series. I've recorded that already, but I'm not really pleased with it, so I'll probably make a new introductory video hopefully pretty soon. But anyway, the long and short of it is, I guess I really think of it now as XX.XX, and so the intent was really to sort of summarize the first half-ish of the series, which I think I started sort of 02.02 and then worked through maybe 04.04 and then kind of swung back to 02.01, which really is not really half of the series, certainly, but I guess some of the most important parts of it. But either way, I guess at some point maybe I'll record a YYYY. And that hopefully will be sort of a summary of the second half of the series, and then maybe a ZZ.ZZ at some point in the future, which will sort of be either a summary of the entire series in a very short, hour-long kind of thing, which, boy, I'll have to speak fast if I'm going to do that. Or it may be the closing arguments or closing thoughts, feelings, ideas, whatever. I don't know. Of course, I'm sure if I record a YY.YY, then a lot of people will be going, why did the man record this? Because he's wasting his time. So maybe all of my videos should be called YY.YY, or YY in the heck. Is he wasting his time on this? But either way, hey, my time to waste, isn't it? And if you feel you're wasting your time, then just, change the channel. I said that at some point in the video and thought, well, wait, this is YouTube, so it's not really, you're not really changing the channel. But yeah, I guess technically, they call these channels, and so I guess you can change the channel, or just go to the home page and look for something else to watch. Anyway, not that it really truly matters. Anyway, I think in the initial XX.XX video, I think I covered things fairly well between 02.01 and 04.04, but I guess I'm not thrilled with the detail that I put into 04.04, which is how to become a Christian, which I guess the best thing for anyone to do that's interested in becoming a Christian is probably to, get online and do a Google search. What do you have to do to be a Christian, or what do you have to do to be saved? Search for things like that, and you probably find all the detail you'll need. I guess really to summarize it, a little, the most important things are simply one, to believe, which seems a fairly obvious precursor or prerequisite to the to being saved. I mean, it's kind of silly. You can't really, if you don't believe there's a God, then what's the point of salvation? There would really not be any salvation if there's no God. So I think that's sort of a prerequisite and sort of an obvious kind of step. You have to believe there's a God, and you have to believe that God's perfect and that man is imperfect, and you have to believe that the way to spend eternity with God, to have a relationship with Him, is to turn away from your sinful nature, to turn to Him, to repent, I think is the way to phrase it. To repent, to basically say, I know what I'm doing is wrong. I don't want to continue on this path. I want to turn to God and have Him lead me, have Him direct my life, have Him be the Lord of my life, the one in charge, the one in control. As I've said before, it's God, then others, then self. You really have to put yourself last. And in today's society, I just don't know how many people can or will do that. It's selfies, and it's the whole culture, the society now just it seems to be self above everything. People are just, not everyone certainly, and not even those that are probably not self-centered and self-serving and selfish all the time, but some people just don't seem to understand there's other people in the world, and it boggles my mind. Anyway, enough about that. So, to be a Christian, you've got to believe, you've got to repent, you've got to turn away from your sin, you've got to turn to God, confess those sins. There's some question as to whether, baptism is a requirement for salvation. I certainly don't think it's a bad thing. I think we should all be in church, and we should all go through the process, the baptism, dunk under the water kind of stuff. I think if nothing else, Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist. I think to pattern your life after his is the whole point of being a Christian. It's a follower of Christ. That's the point, is to follow Christ. That's what a Christian is, or is supposed to be. And so, patterning sorry, patterning your life after Christ would be a very admirable. God, I don't know, for some reason I can't speak today. It's okay. I'll get better. Or I'll get radically worse and you won't understand anything I'm saying, which some people may already be scratching their heads. But anyway, to pattern your life after Christ, isn't that the point? Anyway, but to repent and to turn away from your sin, to turn to God, to know that Christ is the only way that you as a sinful human being can have an ongoing, long-term, eternal relationship with God, I think is the basics of salvation. Turning away from your sin. The thing I want to point out, though, quickly is that Christians don't turn from their sin and then suddenly become perfect. They don't stop sinning. But somehow I really, truly feel that if you turn away and if you really, really, truly beg God to free you from that chain, that slavery, I think He will. And so I think that when a Christian sins, if they really turned from sin in the first place, that it seems like more often than not, or maybe invariably, it's a choice. It's not that you can't help it. It's that you get weak and choose to do something that you know you shouldn't be doing. If Christ freed you from that sin, you're not a slave to it anymore. You're choosing that behavior. You're not, oh, I couldn't help it. No, you could. You just chose not to, I guess, more often than not, or maybe it's always the case. I don't know. I know there should be a difference. I know that if you've become a Christian, that you should not be bound to sin anymore. If you sin, you should know it. It should hurt. It's like cheating on a spouse. It would be the same basic thing. Your spouse may forgive you, but do you want to cause that kind of pain? Do you want to cause that kind of hurt? No. I mean, don't do it. I mean, don't be selfish. You're in a relationship now with somebody else. And if you live for that person, or in this case, for God, you don't want to disappoint Him. You don't want to hurt your relationship with Him. You want Him to see you, and He can't see you if you covered yourself in sin. It's just not how it works. I've heard it sort of theorized or put forward as when in the New Testament it talks about Christ on the cross, and when He says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Well, of course, obviously God hadn't forsaken Him, but I think if He did in fact take on the sin of the world at that point, that God had to turn away. So He felt, Christ, the man, felt that God had turned away from Him, and I guess He had to. He can't look upon sin. He can't. It's outside of His nature. Of course, it is our very nature, but we can turn from it. Again, though, that doesn't mean we stop, but you should certainly try. Try really, really hard. If you don't recognize sin, read the Bible, talk to Christians, talk to your pastor, go to church, surround yourself with people who are moving in that direction. Try to, sure, I'm not saying you can never listen to pop music, ever again in your life, but maybe most of the time be listening to some uplifting, good music, Danny Goki, Mercy Me, For Him, which I wish they still recorded. Maybe they'll do a reunion someday. Anyway, all right. In the video, XX.XX, I talk about the creation of the universe, conservation of matter, and that kind of thing. And one day, me and the family had gone somewhere, see a movie, whatever, and we were going somewhere to eat, or I don't know the circumstances exactly, but at some point the topic of the Big Bang Theory came up, and a son said, "Hey, Dad, did you know that, given the equivalency energy equals mass times the speed of light squared," which was Einstein's Einstein's theory. E equals mc squared. Is energy is equal to the mass, equal to mass times the speed of light squared. That there's an equivalency then between matter and energy. And then at the Big Bang, at that point, there was this amount of energy that created the matter. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. I can see that there's an equivalency. But here's my question. Where'd the energy come from? I mean, I get that, you can create, maybe you can create matter from energy. I don't know if humans have managed that yet. I guess they probably have. But anyway, I don't know. Don't really care, truly. But you might be able to create matter from energy or energy from matter. Of course, you can certainly create matter from, or energy from matter, hence fission and all that. But where did it come from? It doesn't really matter which came first. Was the matter first, the energy first? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Where did the initial whatever it was, where did it come from? Did it just exist? Did it have a starting point? Because I don't believe that it could have existed for all of eternity, right? So there was a beginning. What initiated that beginning? Just things happened. That seems to be the crux or the gist of the Big Bang Theory, is that one day, millions of years ago, of course, but one day things just, boom, exploded into existence. And to me, that's just not logical. Anyway, but enough about that. In the video, I'm talking about conservation of matter, and I'm trying to make a point that, being a little older, sometimes words that are similar, like conservation and conversation, you have to slow down a little and think about it before I say it so that I don't use the wrong word, etc., etc. And so I'm trying to say that at times in my head I hear conversation of matter, but when I'm saying it, I say conservation of matter, which is the correct term, but not what I was trying to say. And so even though I used the right term, it was actually the wrong term because I was trying to use the wrong term. Oh boy. And around we go. But here's the point. And it's probably not the best example anyway. Conservation, conversation. Okay, I don't know that I really ever truly confuse the two. And if I do, it's only for a half a second or less. I probably have more trouble with words like prostate and prostrate. Curb and curve. I think I sometimes have to slow down and think. And for some unknowable reason, cliff, C-L-I-F-F, has always given me this, there's always this little tiny hang-up, this little wait, this little disconnect. Because when I think cliff, I always want to add a T to it. So it's C-L-I-F-T, cliffed. He went off the cliff. Oh well, I'm old. I'm really old, so I'm not far from perfect. Well, close. No, just kidding. Anyway, so yes, sometimes I may think the wrong word. I may even say the wrong word. I am human. I am human. Whether I like it or not. But anyway. In fact, I guess if you're watching this, you're probably human too, or you've put it on for the dogs to watch. Maybe the cats are watching me. Who knows? Anyway, finally, the most important point that I was trying to make in XX.XX is really what I circled back to at the end of the video, which is my topic for 02.01, which is the proving God exists. And that to me is really the single most important point I was trying to make. I guess in simplest terms, and it's exceedingly important to me that you think about this and give it consideration. The inability to prove that God exists is not proof that he doesn't. You can't say, oh, Pastor, you can't prove to me that God exists, so he must not. Well, I can't prove that gamma rays exist, but they do. I mean, scientists now have a way of detecting gamma radiation, I guess. I'm assuming they do. I'm going to talk about it, so they must have a way of detecting it, I guess. But human eyes can't. And that's the point. God is outside of the realm of physical. He's not. I can't touch him. I can't bring you a photo. I can't, you can't see him, hear him. I mean, I guess Christians hear him in their head or in their hearts, internally in some fashion. But I'm not sure that God speaks audibly to people anymore. I think he probably did in the past. There's the story of the burning bush in the Old Testament and so on. But I don't think he speaks audibly to people anymore. Maybe he does, and he just hasn't chosen to speak to me that way. I think people hear him or can hear him if they're in tune in their heads, but it's not a physical thing. I don't believe. I don't see that as the way God works really in the here and now. Not that he couldn't. I mean, do whatever he chose to do, of course, except sin. God can't break his own nature. Can't go against his very own nature, which is a sinful, perfect, one. But the key here is that God is outside of the physical. So there's really not any way that anyone that I know has managed to come up with a way to prove that God exists. I mean, I can say, well, look around you. I mean, look at the vastness of space. How can you believe that it just popped into existence? I can say, you don't see the wind until it moves the leaves on the tree or whatever. And it's sort of the same with God. In a way, it seems to me that I sort of believed in God, and then faith proved to me that there's a God. And I think that's the way you come to a real belief, a faith in God is believing and then faith proving it to you. But here's the thing, the most important point I guess I can really make is that most non-believers seem to feel or think that believers are idiots, and you see that all the time. I remember on some news aggregate, entertainment news aggregate site that I saw someone made a comment. It was something like, invisible men floating in the clouds. Wow. I mean, God is so far beyond an invisible man floating in the clouds. It's ridiculous. But I can't prove he is there. But if you don't believe, I'm begging you, prove that he doesn't. I mean, I know the proof is, I guess, I'm the one that's supposed to be proving to you that God exists, but I want you to take a moment and consider, if I can't prove that he exists, then if it's as important as I say it is, then maybe you need to work a little harder to prove. If you have any doubt whatsoever, prove to yourself that he doesn't. Is that really what you're banking on? Is you're thinking, well, Pastor Hillbilly, he can't prove that God exists, so he must not. That's not going to do you any good when you stand in front of him. When you stand in front of God, you're not going to be able to say, well, nobody could prove to me that you existed. He'll be like, oh yeah, well, it's okay. Don't worry about it then. We're all right. We're good. That's not how it's going to work. You're making a decision now that will affect your eternity. Don't screw this up. Look around you. Can you believe this universe created itself? Can you believe that we're all there is in this universe? Doesn't make sense. It'll never make sense. When you stand in front of God, though, it's too late to believe in him, to have faith in him, to trust him, to turn away from your sin, well, it ain't going to happen at that point. At that point, it's over. You've made your decision. It's done. It's a done deal. I hope you make the right one. I pray you make the right one. So why did I do this? It's for money. I am broke. I need some cash. No, I don't. That's why I'm not putting my name and address anywhere in these videos. Because, well, I really don't want someone showing up on my driveway with a shotgun. This is just because I don't want people to spend eternity separated from God. Okay, so it has nothing to do with money. I'm not going to ask you for anything. A little of your time. And most people are stuck at home with COVID-19 and quarantine and all that good stuff. They're probably at home doing nothing anyway. So, you have nothing to do. Watch a video and sit down and think a bit. Get a cup of coffee, kick back, and study for a little while in your head. Just consider if God's existence can't be proven, can I prove he doesn't? Am I willing to bank on that? Am I willing to risk eternity? Spend eternity in pain and suffering and misery because I chose not to believe? Anyway, I hope you'll give it some thought, because it is a time to think. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, and I hope to see you all soon. All right.